Hi, in today's lecture of Autodesk Revit Architecture Elementary course, we're going to have a look at Unit 4, Lecture 1, Conceptual Mass. And in this lecture, which is the first part or the first lecture of that unit, we're going to have just an introduction to trying to explore and understand the concept of the conceptual mass modeling and what are the main components of modeling method that we have, starting by Extrude, blend, Revolve, sweep, and sweep blend. Then we're going to hop to the extrusion method, blend method, revolve method, and what type of we can achieve, and then finally the sweep and the sweep blend methods. So based on the concept, or what is the architecture Revit conceptual mass, it's basically a platform, a special platform, different from the project environment in the family editor, and it's technically the second platform we study in this course. And all what we studied before was based on the project environment, which we say that it's very similar to the Lego condition or the game Lego, that where you usually or most of the work assemble the work, while in the conceptual mass we are basically sketching forms of it. It's very similar to a sketching program like SketchUp. So you can achieve that by going here to the application menu and then new and then conceptual mass. It's again can be considered type of family, so that's the only available one here for us. Double click it and you will notice that the difference, there's a big difference in the background with different color, with the gradient gray, and those reference plane are actually existed and obvious, and you can select which you want to work on, and basically you can come here and sketch whatever you want, and then select that guy and just hit solid, and it's gonna create for you an extrusion. For it straightforward, you can edit that, you can add any lines and change whatever you want, and you technically sketching just a form. It isn't a building yet, it's just a mass. You can select a line and then you can switch that up, changing whatever you want in this form, and adding more than one form in the same geometry, and that is just a mass, it's not a building yet. And then you can later on go ahead and just create a project, and in the project you can browse that up for a metric system. And I already made the mistake of making this mass based on the imperial system, so it's too late to fix. But anyway, you can send this guy loaded into any project and just add it here. And now technically we get that mass inside Revit project environment, and you can add whatever you want to it. For example, you can add that, you can create masses floor to it. You can clad it, for example, with any type of curtain wall system, or add walls to it, and that's really a good example for adding this pattern to it. Change that, for example, the entire face of that mass into a curtain wall system. You can create walls by face and add this specific type of wall, let's say brick, to that, and so on and so on. So this is now a brick. If you zoom in enough and turn off the mass, the mass actually can be turned on and off in any view. So if you go to massing inside, you can just hide it and get the architectural element for which actually created in the project environment to be stayed, while the mass itself will be disappeared. That's my mass. I can later on show you how you divide that into floors and get automatically an automatic plans and automatic sections. I just want to do in this lecture just to introduce you to the concept, not really into working into a project environment, just to show you the main differences of the interface itself. So that's my interface, that's my conceptual mass, that's my mass actually. How we model in the conceptual mass, it's based on the same concept of modeling existed in all project environment and conceptual massing and family editor, and unfortunately they are all hidden here in the conceptual mass, and you have to create the line, and I think they suppose that you must know them before you jump and go ahead. So if I create, for example, a box, and then you just create this guy here, select it and just hit that button, it knows that the only possibility existed that you need to make an extrusion. And same thing if you create a circle, it might get into a different possibilities when you create that, and it's going to ask you, do you want to make a revolve? So revolve modeling technique, so it's going to be cylinder, or you want to make a normal extrude method, so sorry, it's going to be sphere, or you want to make an extrude method, so it will be, you know, a cylinder. It's obviously based on their assumption when they create the conceptual mass that you know the creation method, the main creation method. That's why I don't prefer to explain them here, and I will just close the conceptual mass, and we're going to return to that in more detail next lecture. So I'm going to explain the modeling method, which is essential in any platform in Revit. So I'm going to go to project environment again, and from the browse I'm going to go up and pick metric and then metric system. So what they are, or what are the main modeling techniques you can find and you can do, and actually we will do in the conceptual mass and in the family editor. You can find them all here and model in place. So I will pick a general category just for now. Ignore the name. See, those are the creation method that you will find in the conceptual mass, project environment, and the family editor. So if I back to my PowerPoint again, you might find the ability to create any forms with those methods of creation, whether here, for example, Revolve, here then Revolve, and the void objects here was Extrude. Same thing, the void here Extrude, and that's Revolve. You can later on clad with an adaptive component, and we're going to talk about that in an entire lecture. And you can sketch any mass you want and then change it into a detailed building. It's really good, and those methods of creation or modeling that are extrude, blend, revolve, sweep, and sweep blend. So I'm going to show you the first method, which is a very basic and very familiar method, which we call extrude, and it's basically available in all types of 3D modeling, like 3D Studio Max, even AutoCAD, SketchUp. Probably SketchUp have a different name than extrude, but anyway, that idea is the same. That you have a plane, whether it's in the, we have a shape, sorry, whether it's in the horizontal level or plan. That's why in this case you call it a plan extrusion or plan based extrusion, or you can have it here drawn in elevation, and then the extrusion goes in that direction, or you can extrude based on another face or a face of another object. So those are the three techniques you might find in extrude. So let's jump into Revit and do it. So just here, extrusion, and from any tool you like here, you can just go ahead and select draw, and then just hit this tick or finish edit mode, and you're gonna see that when you hit finish again, you go to the 3D, you're gonna see that actually we are creating an object here. You can easily just increase the height of it as such, and here we go. That's my extrusion, which is really very easy and very basic. You can just edit in place and then select edit extrusion. You can change that. You can add another geometry inside, and we say that a couple of times. If you have two nested shapes in closed, actually closed shape, and they are inside each other, he's going to create for you, or Revit will create for you, an opening. Similar techniques we saw in the curtain wall system, and similar technique we saw when we was in sketching mode for a floor or a roof. So that's it for the extrusion. Let's go and model in place again. Again, I'm use generic modeling, and this time I'm gonna do a blend. So in Blend, it's basically assume that there is two shapes, one in the top view and in the second floor, and one in the first floor, or one high and one low, and then Revit will create a geometry that combines them both. Let's do that. So in level 1, and see, it tell you that we are in the lower level because it's asking us if we want to switch to the top. So we're technically in the button. So I'm gonna go like this shape, and then you go to the top level, and you can go here to level 2 if you like, and then draw a circle. Now this second level will be above, I think, 250 from the first. So if I finish and then I go tick that again and go to the 3D, see, even though I picked the shape, but anyway, I can just raise that up, or just go edit mass and select the geometry again, go to the edit top and select that guy and give him the number we want, which is, for some reason I can see that. Yep, here, let's say 8,000, and hit apply and finish it. And you can see that it's higher. You can just increase it here manually, or change it here again to 20,000 if you want. See, so it's actually created a geometry that start up the extrusion as this angle or polygon, and then it's faded gradually into a circle. That's what we call it, blend. Let's do the third method, and I will choose revolve, and in the revolve here I will create an elliptical shape, for example, and I will just draw a line like this, split that guy, and then trim it. So we have this closed shape. That's for the boundary. Now you need to go and pick an axis anywhere, which is this one, and hit OK, finish, and then go to the 3D. We see that we actually create an egg shape or a capsule shape. You can just select that guy, and in the edit select it again, and here you can make it like 90 degree, and we are chopping here like half of it, and I can chop 180 degree to make it like a shell or a dome. Anyway, as you can see, and this method, the revolving, it's actually can be in a different locations or a different specification, depend on the profile, which the curvature thing that we created. So we call that a revolve profile, and we have to create also a revolve path. So those are the possibilities that you can find. Then, for example, you can just create a solid closed, and that's similar to this guy and similar to the shape that I made, the dome, whereas this and this are touching each other or sharing. This guy is so straight, and the path is the same straight line here. It's going to be solid. It could be shell and closed, which is this guy. So it's double line, not a single line like that one I did. And the revolve path is far away from it. It's going to create such a things like that. It's like a clay exactly. And if you cut that clay, it's going to give you a shell open, and that can goes by adding this from 0 to 270, same what I've done. Closed ring, and yes, that's easy. Similar to this technique, but this loop gonna be horizontally oriented, and it's gonna go rotating all the way like it's like a ring. And the final thing is the open ring, and the same thing can be added again. So this and this is almost the same, and this guy almost the same. Just one difference, that this is vertical oriented and this is horizontal oriented. The possibility of the generation of the shape different. That can help us by creating tower shells, and this guy as an architect can help us by creating a horizontal shape, stadium, any circular building shape like that, or the shell of it. Anyway, the fourth method is a sweep. and it's real nice. It's also made out of path and profile, but this time the path is not a straight. It's very similar to Extrude actually. The path is it can be single line or curve, and it's have multi segments as you can see, and then we have the profile that goes similarly from the beginning to the end of it. So that's the sweep, and it's very easy. Again, if you want to create it here, again generic and sweep, and all you're gonna do here is sketching path. So I'm gonna sketch a path as such, and then finish that path. Go to edit profile, and here you can zoom in and you can just create a small shape. Don't go very big because it's gonna collapse if it's overlap with itself, so make sure this is small enough, and then finish this. See, and the last technique is very similar to the sweep, and we call it sweep blend. It's actually the same as sweep, but it starts with a shape and ends with another shape based on a curved or multi-segment line, so or path. So I'm gonna create why it's stopped. It should be chained anyway. Anyway, let's try to make it complex. No, I don't think it's gonna work, so I'm gonna go for a little bit more crazier shape. Like this. And see, there is two reference plane, one here, anyway. Finish that guy, which is the path. Now if I select the first profile, which is this one, see, to make it blue, I can edit profile and sketch. Again, don't go too big. Finish that, and then second profile, which is this guy. Now it's bluish, and again, by the way, you can just, if you hate that because you're working in perspective, just get this guy here, and you can use it to draw based on a full elevation of that anyway. So edit profile, and then see how lovely. I can see that in plan immediately. Anyway, close that. Let me draw it here and finish that. Finish, and then finish, and it's gonna sweep and blend this and go into a circle based on this line that I have. So profile 1, profile 2, and a path to get this shape. So that's the method. We have extrude, blend, and then revolve, and then sweep, and then sweep blend. That's the basic extrusion method that we have here in actually all Revit. And those, you can see them now very obvious, very clear when you go and create a component in place, as here. See, that's for a solid, and that's for a same copies of them, but as a void. We're going to talk about that later. But for some reason, just Autodesk did not decide to make that clear here. So in conceptual mass, which is our topic, the same techniques actually exist. So if you created a curve like such, and then you close that curve, and then you select those two things, and then you hit this. See, it created for us an extrusion of that. If you create a circle, and then you select it, and then you go create solid, it will give you both possibilities to revolve or extrude, and so on. So that's an extrude again. Same thing here. You can go and revolve. If you created, if you go to the south elevation, for example, and in the create a level, anything again. Again, guys, level 1 and level 2, this is just an introduction for it. So I'll try and go deeper each level, or next lecture. Just try to understand the main concept here. See, that's in level 2. In level 1, I can go ahead and create a different geometry like such. So when I go to a 3D, you see this guy and this guy, you select them both, and then you go and get solid, and it's gonna understand that you want to make a blend. It is depending on an idea, thinking that you understand those methods, and they don't give you the name straightforward. And again, if you create a profile and then you can sweep along it or sweep a blend along it. I'm not gonna do that again. So the same techniques, but without showing you as that or showing them as a main commands. They think that you know what you have to create in order to do that. Anyway, that's the end of our first lecture of Unit 4, which is Conceptual Maths. I wish that you find it useful. Thank you very much, and have a